Welcome to the Special Siblings Podcast, the only show focused exclusively on supporting siblings of kids with disabilities. Join us as we invite psychologists, researchers, parents, and siblings of all ages to weigh in on the issues facing this too often overlooked population. I'm your host, Jessica Leving, author of the children's book Special Siblings, and more importantly, a sibling myself to a brother with autism. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to learning with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. So the past couple of weeks, you've heard from a couple of different experts. You've heard from a psychologist, you've heard from the founder of a program for siblings, and today I wanted to give you guys a chance to hear from a family themselves. So my guest today, I actually found on Special Books by Special Kids, which, if you are not familiar, is a very cool video series that shares stories of different kids with different kinds of disabilities. And I came across their video posted last November of Evely, who is 4 years old and has an unknown genetic condition that makes her unable to walk, talk, or see. And what really struck me about this video was her sister, Luna, who was pictured in the video with her, and you could see them interacting. And I was just really, I could resonate and really understand a lot of what it looked like Luna was going through in this video. And so I reached out to their mom, Tameka, and was so fortunate that she got back to me and was willing to come on the show. So our audio quality was not amazing on the show today, so please do bear with me. But I think their story was pretty worth hearing. So I hope you'll enjoy what they have to say. All right. Welcome back to the show. I'm so glad to have some very special guests here on the Special Siblings Podcast. Can you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I am Tameka, and
I'm Luna.
Awesome. And Luna, how old are you?
5.
5 years old. Wow. Well, I am so excited to have you guys here with us.
Thanks for having us. And we absolutely loved your book. Luna actually read it first. I asked her to wait for me, but she didn't. And she read it. And then there has been several nights since we got our book that she's asked to if we could read the book. And I love your book because your book is like every special needs family that has more than one child needs this book, because it makes having these conversations so much easier because it gives them somebody that they can identify with. So, I'm saying, well, she was frustrated because, Billy didn't understand this and that. Has Evely ever made you feel that way? So it
Exactly.
it's I love it. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It really, really means so much to hear you say that. That was exactly the reason I wanted to write it. And I did not pay her to say that, anybody listening. So anyway, just to start us off talking about your family, Luna, can you tell us a little bit about who is in your family?
Evely.
Hello.
I.
Hello.
Mommy.
Hello.
Papi. That's how you say daddy in Spanish.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. And I didn't hear the second name you said. You have Evely, and who's your other sister?
Sky.
Sky. And is she older or younger?
Younger.
Also younger. So you're the oldest?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like being the oldest sister?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of stuff do you guys do? Like, would you like to play together?
We like to paint.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Is there anything that is different about your sister, Evely?
She's blind.
Mm-hmm.
She can't talk, walk, or crawl.
So, Luna, are you sometimes the one that helps and you like hold her hand and help her paint or do other art activities?
Yes.
And it looked like in the video you guys like music. Do you like singing together?
Yes.
Do you sometimes sing to Evely?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that sounds fun. What's her favorite song?
What song do you sing to her all the time?
this for me, and he play one. He play knick-knack on my toe. The knick-knack. This for me, came rolling home.
That was beautiful. I know that song. I like that song a lot.
I don't know the name of it.
I don't know the official name of it either, but I know the words. So what does Evely do when you're singing?
When she's like fussing, I sing to her and she calms down when I'm singing.
So you can tell she likes it because she calms down.
Mm-hmm.
And are you guys all at the same school?
We homeschool.
Cool.
Me and Sky does homeschool.
Oh, cool. Mom, can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to homeschool?
Well, I was thinking about homeschooling before I ever had kids, just because I worked with children. I ran a in-home daycare before having Luna, and I loved it so much, and I loved teaching them, and I loved watching them grow. And once I had Evely, then I definitely wanted to homeschool. It just really works out for our family just because of how busy we are with her. And I never have to worry about Luna missing school or, falling behind or stressing over the number of days or even the mornings with everything with Evely and her appointments and therapies. I couldn't even imagine having to throw in dropping a kid off and picking a kid up at school in the mix of all of that. So it has really worked out for our family unit because of life is already so crazy with travel, with appointments, with therapies for Evely. So right now, homeschool, it has definitely been the absolute best option for us, and they absolutely love it. And it's a beautiful thing to learn and grow as a family too. So it's definitely something that I do not take for granted.
So at some of the different therapists or when you have specialists coming, does Luna get to participate?
Yeah, Luna is very hands-on with Evely's therapies. She likes to help, and she likes to participate. She's very hands-on with a lot of it, and she likes to be able to learn as much as she can during the therapy sessions, because then she turns around and does it when the therapists aren't here. So it's awesome. A few of Evely's therapists has, joked several times that Luna's going to take their jobs because she's so good with Evely. She's very good with her.
Are there ever times when it's when either you feel frustrated as a mom or that you can't divide your attention equally, or that Luna maybe expresses some frustration?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There's a lot of mom guilt involved when it comes down to certain things for Luna and Sky that we can't do, or just don't have the opportunities to do as far as timing and stuff goes. I try really, really hard. I stretch myself very thin some days because I'll try as hard as I can to have as much of the day dedicated to Luna and Sky as well, which can be very tiring and exhausting. But I know that they need me just as much as Evely does too. So it's very hard, and there's a lot of guilt involved. I will say that Luna is extremely understanding. It's just her personality, and I'm so grateful for it. But I know that even as understanding as she is, Um, I imagine that it's still tough at times for her. Right now we have her in gymnastics and she's really loving that, right, Luna?
Right.
So, it is not easy at all because of schedule, Emily's schedule that we have to work around. But we have been working it out so far, and Luna has been in gymnastics for a couple of months now.
Have you guys ever had conversations about like what it feels like to be a sibling?
Yes, we have conversations about what it feels like to be a sibling to someone with special needs. I always want to know, what it is that she may be feeling. So I want her to know that, she can come and talk to me at any point if there's something bothering her. I try really hard to let her know that it's okay to be frustrated sometimes because this journey, mommy gets frustrated on this journey too. And, but we do have the conversation because I want her to be open about her feelings about everything as well.
So I'm wondering what tips you would give other parents who have who have kids with special needs as well as other kids in the family.
As a family, I would say being open, just communication on all ends, especially when you have small children. And I'm with you when it comes down to honesty. We believe that wholeheartedly and are completely honest with our kids about everything at all times, even the things that's scary, because we need for them to understand the severity of what's, of things that's going on. And, they can handle it. And sometimes, and that was one of the things that was hard for me, just letting Luna know things. But now as she gets older, she's wanting to know, and she goes into doctor's offices with her own questions. And I'm proud of her every single time she does it because it's so awesome to hear, from a sibling's perspective, their concerns, because then that's a way for them to express the concerns that they may have for their sibling that they may have not been able to express to the parents for whatever reason or not know how, because Luna's only 5. So I don't expect her to just be able to sit down and just pour out, her entire day. But one of the ways that one of the, kind of tool for us to utilize to see what, what's going on with her sometimes is to say, hey, since we're here, do you have any questions for the doctor about what we're talking about today? And that really helps us out a lot, just allowing them to be involved.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I think especially giving her the opportunity to ask those questions and have a voice, because I think a lot of times siblings can feel confused or like their opinion isn't as important. And actually, we had on another episode, I was talking to a psychologist who was talking about how if we aren't honest with kids, especially about, medical issues or diagnosis and things like that, they can tell that something is different about their sibling and their imagination is going to be much worse than whatever the reality is.
Exactly.
So I think
that's exactly right.
It's so key to just give them that opportunity to have that seat at the table. But then at the same time, I'm curious if you have had conversations with her or if you have any kind of tips around how to sort of walk that line between involvement and honesty, but also letting her know that at the end of the day, it's not her responsibility. That she can have, that her opinions and her perspective is important, but that, you are the caregiver and she's,
Yes,
a kid.
We actually had a situation just like that to come up just several months ago. We learned over the summer that Emily had obstructive sleep apnea, and that she had abnormal brain waves, that she was prone to seizures, that there was a possibility that she was having seizures in her sleep, well, seizures at night, and that was making it difficult for her to sleep. In addition to the sleep apnea, so so it just became this whole busy schedule of traveling for testing and everything like that, and it was very scary. And Emily ends up having a surgery in September for the sleep apnea, and we're actually still going through everything as far as seizures. So one day, Luna and I were leaving the gymnastics gym, and we were stopping at Publix on the way home. So while we're in there, she's picking out her little mini chocolate chip muffins, and out of the blue, she tells me that she didn't want Ellie to stop breathing in her sleep.
Oh my gosh.
So, well, first of all, I felt like I had been gut punched because I knew that my 5-year-old had definitely been thinking about that for a while, for it to just randomly come out of her mouth, with like not even being on that subject.
Mm-hmm.
So, she said that, and, I told her, I said, well, neither do I. And I told her that that was exactly why Emily was having a procedure that she was having. And since Emily has had the procedure, John and I have been very conscious and actively talking about how much better Emily is breathing and sleeping at night now that she's had the surgery, to kind of ease that, sort of worry for her. And, so we tell her, oh, it's fine. And, so then in last month, we traveled to Charleston, which is 3 hours from us. We go to Charleston for cardiology and neurology. So we were there for neurology. So we're having all of this seizure talk. And, seizure talk is pretty scary, especially when they think your child is having silent seizures. So, I told Luna, I said, I don't know how much you were actually like keying in on when we were talking to the doctor. And I told her, I said, but I just want to let you know that like this, we got this,
Mm-hmm.
like Emily is taken care of, and, you get to be a kid and not worry about it, and not worry about taking care of her. Because some days I do feel like she feels like this pressure or something to take care of Emily. Like she just, she wants to do it, which is, just her. She's a nurturer at heart, and she's always been that way. And so, I'll tell her, well, you can go and do this. It's mommy's job to handle this part, So,
Mm-hmm.
I try really, really hard to, let her know what her job or role as a sibling is. Like you're the fun part of her day. You play with her and sing to her and make all the sounds that she likes and help her on the rocking horse, the fun things. So, but that is challenging when you have a kid that like is a natural nurturer.
Right. Well, and I think there's a lot of that. Like it's very common, I think, with kids who have siblings with disabilities to be like described as the mini mom, or like, therapist helper and stuff. And I think, I was that way a lot with my brother too. And it's a tricky balance, because I think, looking back, if somebody had said to me like, stop taking care of your brother, your mom has it, I would be like, well, I don't care. Like, I'm not, no, like I want to help,
I know,
you really.
exactly. And see, that's what Luna would say too. She'd be like, no, I want to, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's how she is. She would definitely say the same thing. And I think you're right. I think it's just I think it's just something that special siblings just have. Like, I don't know. It's just, I see it so often, like where I'll hear something or stories from other um, siblings who have a sibling with special needs, or a parent telling a story about their children and how the the typical child is with the kid with special needs. And I was like, man, I guess this is just like what they do.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing as I've been talking to different families and like psychologists and stuff, because it really is that balance, and it's like it's such a beautiful connection that a lot of these siblings have, that like it definitely sounds like Luna and Emily have. And um, yeah, I just spoke to an older sibling the other day who's in her 20s now and still lives with her sister and takes care of her and loves it. And she describes her as her best friend, and they are each other's pals in a new city that they moved to together. Like, there are these like really, really heartwarming, great stories. And then there's also this important piece of making sure, and that it sounds like you're doing, just making sure to let them know that there's an option if they need to take a break, that if they don't want to
Right,
do that, that they don't have to, that they have, the
right.
gymnastics or the day off with just them and mom or something, to know that they can be a kid sometimes
Absolutely.
too.
Yes, I think that is so important. I mean, it's really important. And, being, just watching my own children, being a sibling of, special needs, it it's a lot. It requires a lot. Like, and I think about how, it takes for me, an adult, to process a lot of the things that we see and we hear. I can remember the very first time Luna saw Everly hooked up to machines. Everly was 3 months old, and Luna was she was almost 2, and she kept asking, to see her sister. And John and I were kind of going back and forth about whether or not to see her. She was actually in a PCICU in Charleston for heart failure. And we finally let her see her. And when she did see her, she told us that, we asked her, how did she feel? And she said, it's scary. And I was like, that's fine. It's scary to us too. It's very scary. So, I told her that was okay, that if she felt that way, and I told her that it was perfectly fine if she didn't want to go back to where Everly was, until Everly was in a different, a different space, a different area in the hospital. I said, that's perfectly fine if you don't want to see her that way. And that's what we did. She ended up waiting until Everly was in a regular room, and, she wasn't hooked up to so much, so it wasn't as scary anymore.
Yeah,
So,
and I love hearing about I feel like there's two pieces of that are so important, like the honesty again about feelings, and modeling too, because I think a lot of the concerns that I've heard some of the psychologists that I've talked to speak to about siblings growing up and having like repressed emotions, or they have anxiety or depression because they haven't felt like they could express being sad or scared or mad. And I just think it's so important to be able to have that open communication and say, yeah, it
it's
is scary.
it's extremely important. And yeah, I told Luna, I mean, even then, that I was like, listen, I'm scared too. Just recently at one of Everly's most recent appointment on the way home, I asked her, I said, hey, did the doctor say anything to mommy that made you sad or scared or, nervous, afraid, or made you anything other than, comfortable? And thankfully at that appointment, the only thing that she had an issue with was, the doctor sticking a tongue suppressor in Everly's mouth and making her upset. So
Oh,
she was like, I didn't like when he made her cry.
oh, what a sweetheart.
So I try like so hard, try to be so conscious, because they are humans too, and are trying to process a lot of big things, in their tiny little minds. So I think that it is so important, and we're very, very, conscious about that, because I would feel bad if you just, you're so busy, like, pouring into one child and not thinking about, not saying not thinking about, but yeah, like, in a sense, it's just kind of slipping through the cracks. And that, like, definitely mental health. Like, I definitely don't want that to be something that slips through the cracks. So we are open and honest. That has gotten easier over the years. Cause it's really hard at first to tell, your child that there's, big issues, wrong, or, something that, especially health wise. So it was a while before Luna understood, Everly being blind. It took a while for her to understand that. And she, once she finally did, it was a conversation in the car one day, and it was just like, I don't know. She just randomly started talking about it, and she said, "Well, Mommy, Everly doesn't have eyes, so she can't see anything." And I said, "No." And she asked if Everly would ever be able to see, and she said, will she be blind forever? And I told her, I was like, "Yeah, baby, she'll be blind forever." And she got really upset, and she was crying, and she said, "Oh, I don't want her not to be able to see forever." And I said, "I know, baby." I said, "That was something that was really, really hard for Mommy to accept too." And I said, "And some days, I still feel like I haven't quite gotten there." And I told her, I was like, "But there's so many other ways, that Everly can experience things," and that kind of helped her. But yeah, I let her. We stopped, and I just let her cry as long as she needed to, because that is something that's very hard to accept. So I think I am a huge, huge, huge advocate for special needs siblings, and, having these conversations with them and letting them know that their feelings matter, and let them know that whatever they're feeling is perfectly okay to feel. Like, if you're frustrated, that is fine. Like, that is understandable. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad, because I'm right there with you, going through all of those emotions with you. And I think that it's very important that they have, self-care too. They need it too. They need a break from it. We took a break for the very first time from therapies over the summer, and it was amazing. And I think the whole entire family was experiencing burnout. I know I was, after, having 8 to 10 therapies a week for 3 years. But now that we have done it, and seeing her and Luna and Sky and myself during that break, and we took the break at the most, the perfect time of the year, because we spent, instead of, therapies, we spent, our days at the swimming pool. And then towards the end of the summer, we started taking the girls to a horse farm. I mean, between that was all the therapy that we needed that summer anyway.
Recreational therapy.
Yes, making those memories that involved, like, just being. It was really nice. And I learned a lot myself, even now that we've started therapies back up. When we started them back, I only decided to do one therapy day a week. So we knock them all out, and it's on Mondays. So Mondays are super busy for us, and we knock them all out on one day. Mm-hmm. And then that way, we're not just, like, constantly, like, the entire week. And then by the time the weekends would come, we'd be so burned out from the week. We didn't want to do anything on the weekends. So it has been a beautiful change for the entire family. And I'm grateful that I finally did it. And I'm just, I hate that it took me 3 years to do that, but you live and you learn.
Yes.
And you figure out what works. You figure out what works best for your family. But yes, special needs parents, take them breaks.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what? That's exactly. It's like you only know these things through having those experiences. Or from, I know my mom, just recently we were at a book event for the Special Siblings book. And she said to another parent that was there with a much younger kid, like, my biggest advice to you is make friends with somebody who has a kid with a similar diagnosis who's a few years older than your kids so that you can learn from all the things they did wrong or the advice that they have, because they're going to be the ones passing down like, hey, this therapy didn't work for us.
Amazing advice.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. And especially, this journey can be so isolating, and I imagine that it can be isolating for siblings as well. So yes, definitely making a friend that is going through a similar journey as yours. I think it is so important. And that is the beauty of this day and age with social media, because now you don't have to feel as isolated, because now it's easier to make those connections with those families. And
Exactly.
I think it's awesome. I think it is really, really awesome.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's actually like really part of the reason why I wanted to do this show and write the book, is because, there are definitely resources out there. And I know my family and a lot of families have benefited from, like you said, creating kind of your own community. Even for siblings, there's Sib Shops, which is a program that we've talked about on another one of the episodes, which is an amazing program where they do like social get-togethers for kids who are siblings of kids with special needs, and it's just special time just for them. And it's really an amazing program, but it's still growing. It's not everywhere. And depending where people live, the resources are different. So my hope is that, through this show, you can be the voice, the older, more experienced, wiser parent to somebody else that's listening, and then the other people can. Yeah, we'll build this online podcast special siblings community.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Well, thank you. I'm so appreciative of you coming on the show, and I loved having Luna for a few minutes. She is adorable. All of your kids are so cute.
Thank you so much. It's important. It's super important. The parents, people always, ask about the parents, ask about the child. I'm like, there's Luna and Scott, they're going through it too,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So yeah, check on, the special needs siblings as well, because they're going through it just like we're going through it. So thank you so much for writing that book.
Well, thank you. I so appreciate that. I hope it'll be a good resource. And I hope this will be a good resource too. I think there's so much here that it sounds like, you guys are doing such a great job, like modeling, really just like the best practices, because there's no way there's not a guidebook for these things. But it's so wonderful to hear about the honesty and the communication. And I hope other parents will be able to learn from you.
Yep. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure that we will keep in touch. Tell Luna, thanks for being on the show for us.
I sure will.
If you liked what you heard today and want to support our work, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. You can also check out our website, supportingspecialsiblings.com, to learn more about the book, the podcast, and more ways you can get involved. We couldn't do this without you. Take care.